find what I'm looking for. Lord, I pray you give me strength to carry on, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. And I've made up my mind, I ain't wasting no more time. I'm just another heart in need of rescue, waiting on your sweet Cherokee. And I'm gonna hold on for the rest of my days, 'cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. And I've made up my mind, I ain't wasting no more time. But here I go again, here I go again, here I go again, here I go. Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. And I've made up my mind, I ain't wasting no more time. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. 'Cause I know what it means to walk along the lonely street of dreams. And here I go again on my own, going down the only road I've ever known.
Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way. Don't ask for all your things back, cussing out my name, yeah, just to go and take back what you say. Burn all the bridges, don't ask forgiveness, walk away like I'm someone you hate. Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way.
If it's over, so fuck it. Just don't act like my love wasn't nothing. Like I wasn't the one you was holding that night, telling all of your secrets and hugging. Guess you right, it's too good to be true. Was a point, all I needed was you. But shit, time after time, I just fussing and fighting. It's time that you do what you do. And it's cool. Mama said it was fish in the sea, I got lost in the pool. Knew it was coming, I watched how you moved, how you turn your back on me and leave me to lose. Remember the text, how you said that you do. Said that you never leave, we would fight till it's due. But as it went on, I was fighting for you. Since the text turned green, why the fuck it ain't blue? Guess you done and I get it. Said you stay and you wanted my name and you left, so I'm guessing that you never meant it. Said you try and hold on cause the love was so strong, now I'm standing alone in this kitchen. singing sad songs, but I'm knowing that this shit don't last long. If you leaving, then leave cause your bag's gone. But just know you can never come back home.
Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way. Don't ask for all your things back, cussing out my name, yeah, just to go and take back what you say. Burn all the bridges, don't ask forgiveness, walk away like I'm someone you hate. Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way.
If you say that you done it, no take back. Said you fell out of love and I hate that. But see me, I was stuck like a drug, really feeling for love, and somehow I can't shake back. When you walked out that door, I was hurting. All the dreams in my head, you was perfect. You remember the very first time that we chilled and I reached for your hand where the nerves at. Time to pass, shit, that's what it do. It be times I be sick sitting thinking about you. It was death do its part. See, you gave me the blue, really play with my heart. Left me lost in the field, like this shit was fair game. But you made it the rules. On my heart, left a scar and a bruise. Hope that you can stand on all the shit that you did. Cause I'm done, y'all finally through.
Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way. Don't ask for all your things back, cussing out my name, yeah, just to go and take back what you say. Burn all the bridges, don't ask forgiveness, walk away like I'm someone you hate. Don't let me down easy. If you're gonna leave me, baby, go and leave me all the way.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just stuck? I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She says it's like a sex that's bringing me down. I went to a whore. He said my life's a bore. Choke with my white cause it's bringing her down. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Grasping to control, so I better hold on. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Like a
There was a point in time over the last few years where our attrition, our turnover rate for security staff was 60%.
If I want to pretend I'm Joe Doe and take your image, your face, your video, your voice, and I want to replicate that, you know, I want to be able to authenticate that and say, hey, this isn't Joe speaking to me. There's got to be something off there.
Everyone has a part in the security and safety of all of our guests and employees. And it doesn't stop just if security is in your title.
You guys communicate and have synergy with security and surveillance and cyber and even marketing and player development. And for so long, Joe, those departments were sideload departments.
I'm going to pull your heart out of your chest and shove it down your throat. Smoke them and then hit them over the head with it. Whatever you have to do. You have to have that kind of mentality.
If there's a way out, get the
Get
fuck
out.
out. You know,
Yep. If people paid attention more, there'd be less victims who probably wouldn't have been a victim if they would have been eyes up.
if you want to learn how to truly protect yourself and how to secure yourself, you should learn from someone who does it for a living or someone who has
Correct.
gotten away with it.
You'd be surprised how well you will do if you just fight for your life.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Taylor May, the founder of SVIP Security VIP. Welcome to another episode of SVIP Live. That's right, we are live across Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And this is my weekly series where I highlight and spotlight end users in the security industry. And today I've got a very personal and great friend of mine who I'm about to announce who this guy is and what he's all about. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors today, EagleSight AI. There's a QR code listed on the screen here. You can check out exactly what EagleSight is all about. Very innovative, young company, and specifically in the casino and gaming space. Really, really cool technology. So go check them out. Scan that QR code. And if you are not a subscriber yet of SVIP, I've also put a QR code here. So make sure you guys subscribe for all the content that we produce here at the company. But I'm excited because I met this guy, our guest here, probably back 2018, 2019, when I used to work for a facial recognition company who actually he's using that facial recognition company today at the casino. But this guy's name is John Underwood. He's the Director of Protective Services for Cherokee Nation Entertainment, sits out of the Hard Rock Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And John, my longtime friend, how are we doing today?
Doing well. How about you, Dayton?
Doing good, man. And John, I keep saying this. We said this before we got live, man. You are a professional when it comes to SVIP. You were one of my first early guests on SVIP with the podcast that I host. So ever since 2020, since now here in 2025, you've been on multiple speaking engagements with SVIP, whether it's conferences and panel discussions in Vegas to even your own casino earlier this year. So welcome back, my friend, and it's great to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I was going to ask you this anyway, John, but John is obviously just like me. He's one of the good guys. He's obviously OSU, family. So go Pokes. That's right. He's got a little Pistol Pete in the background. So he's one of the good guys. Can't say that about his peer Josh, but we won't talk about him today. But John, for the people that are tuning in, and I want to encourage my audience, if you have a question for John, please drop your question in the chat functionality. There's a chat comment section. I will highlight your comment or question to John for him to answer. But John, for some context, my friend, let's tell the people exactly your background and experience.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the gaming side. Came to the company in 2005 as an armed guard, actually. That was, honestly, I applied for thinking I was going to get a little part-time job just to augment going towards the holidays. When we did that, honestly, I went full-time. I said that a few times, but went full-time because the benefits pack and all that was actually paying them better than a lot of the departments were, where I was really looking more for full-time law enforcement stuff at the time. So saw kind of the opportunities and benefits and just started to really put all my focus into this place. And at that time, we were not a Hard Rock. It was just Cherokee Casino, Catoosa, Oklahoma. And they had eight properties at the time. So within about a year, I started to promote into a bit of a leadership role, give it about another 2, did it again. So kind of did that whole lead supervisor type role. Worked in our security operations center on site for a number of months. I had trained in there early on, did some cross training with surveillance as I was working my way up, and had an opportunity to go out and run as the site manager for security for our horse track facility at Will Rogers Downs. Worked out there for a couple more years and actually kind of founded our internal firearms training program, pulling that all internal, not having to depend on the outside help for that. We also started moving into all of our first aid, CPR, any of that type of training, pulled that into in-house trainers that had gotten certified or already were, and really started to kind of store our knowledge base and develop it internally to push that out to our different sites and keep everything very uniform. worked on a lot of projects, and that was kind of always my mantra. I was the project guy. So whether that was about firearms training, firearms selection, the body armor we were using, um, first aid equipment, all those things, that was always what I kind of dove into is what's out there and why are we using this? What should we be using? What does everybody's research say? You know, why is this group or this litany of groups moved to this product or this device? And kind of felt like I was getting a little bit stale for a little while. So in 2013, Josh, who we had been peers and he'd been my supervisor or vice versa type thing for a while, um, we were both different site managers. He was security manager at Hard Rock. I was security manager at Will Rogers Downs. And in 13, he moved over to surveillance. And like I said, I had worked with our security operations center, you know, cameras, alarms, all that. Dispatch was in that role. Done a cross training with surveillance. I was like, you know, there's another thing to show what else, you know, I can really put my finger in and try that on. And applied for a position that was open, ended up as the Hard Rock, primarily security manager at that site, which also included joining in. I had the Will Rogers Downs facility under me and one of our other smaller sites. Ran those for a little while, and we noticed another problem. We had a little issue with our equipment and the way our support plans were set up for all the sites, and kind of dove into it like I did the others. You know, Josh is a contract and a numbers guy, and he's going to do his research about costs and the wheres and whys. And I dove into the equipment, and we did a massive upgrade. I started kind of being handed a lot of the role to make decisions for that on multiple sites. IT was handling our primary support, and their management wasn't always seeing what we thought were priorities. And actually, their VP at the time came to ours and said, "What do you think about these applications engineers and the field technicians? We pulled them out of IT, moved those over to surveillance. They're under all your supervision, and you know, we'll go ahead and support your infrastructure on the server side and the back end of the network, but the rest of it's yours." So we did that. And in 16, we stood up our own surveillance technology department, and I moved over as the manager of that, and which I've been in until a month ago. So done a lot since then, tested a lot of equipment, a lot of applications, made a lot of good moves, and recent corporate reorg, we were under two different vice presidents, one for security, one for surveillance on our investigative side for many years. Uh, they decided they want to bring it all back under one head leadership. And Josh was promoted into that role of vice president, myself as the director. And we have department heads and directors of those different things, but we're kind of helping really bring all that together and converge, get rid of the silos. That was one of your clips in one of the little intro pieces about getting rid of the silos between the different divisions. And we've all complained about it for years that we can communicate better and there's needs for it. So that's what we're working on right now. I've got a month of running really hard, and I'm doing a lot of time on everything from body armor updates that, you know, things that are coming up due that we need to get ready to refresh those. Back into my firearms training mode about what are they doing now? What can we be doing? What should we be doing? And still keeping up with my tech group. But I was able to, in that little progression, we were able to promote our project manager to kind of be the day in, day out head of that department. And he is a wealth of knowledge. And I would put him against anybody in access control, especially.
Can I just say, John, that it's about damn time that this has happened. I mean, you've worked for Cherokee Nation obviously since 08, right? Or maybe
05.
earlier.
05. I'll hit 20 years in November.
Yeah, so there you go. 20 years, dude, with the same company. That's obviously compelling in itself. But to be in the position that you and Josh are now, it's probably a breath of fresh air because now you guys feel like you can probably do things a lot quicker, a lot faster, but you now
Uh-huh.
have the authority to make those calls, right?
Uh-huh.
And so
Absolutely.
I am just as a friend of you guys, I am just genuinely proud of both of you, and obviously Kate, my wife, is
Uh-huh.
genuinely proud of both of you. We couldn't be more excited when we found out the news, and I just know that Cherokee Nation Entertainment, as well as the whole company, the business, the other departments beyond the casino
Uh-huh.
side is in good hands with you guys at the helm, and
Thank you.
honestly, employees, man, employees and customer experience. We talk about retention. You heard Joe Doe talk about attrition and retention
Uh-huh.
rates, which is viable in gaming casinos, and we'll hit on that a little bit today. But I think it's just a breath of fresh air. It's obviously good for the business. It's good for revenue. It's good for employee satisfaction. You've got a great team. Obviously, referring to John Warden, he's done
Uh-huh.
incredible things, taking over your previous role. So I know
Uh-huh.
in confidence, he's going to excel there.
Yes,
But
he
yeah,
is.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you guys, and it's great to see the the from the outside in looking at you guys. It's really really cool. So
Thank you.
but I want to get to the crux of now, like, Director Protective Services. We hit it on the siloed aspect. Obviously, Joe hit on that too, because you're right.
Uh-huh.
And back when I first met you, it was a siloed approach. It was security had their own thing, surveillance had their own thing, compliance,
Yeah.
etc. But you and Josh now are managing both security and surveillance, as well as calling this the Division Protective Services. So how has, I know it's only been a month, right? It's only been a month. We're still new, but how has that transition or merge been so far for you guys taking over the additional responsibility?
Honestly, I think it's been great. We worked very closely with the director of that site already. Great guy. I mean, he's his own wealth of knowledge, especially from the law enforcement side. He was the head of our highway patrol in the state for a few years and had had a whole career there before he came to the company. So when you talk about administrative knowledge and how to run large departments with that many personnel and dealing with kind of that same public order mindset that they did with the Department of Public Safety there for the state, I mean, he's great. So the thing is that we are now on that kind of same plane and even moved offices, cohabitating in the same area where we're just day in, day out, just in and out of each other's office about, hey, I just saw this, or did you hear about so whatever the incident might be, and can all think through it and work towards, kind of how to best deal with things or how to reshape what we're going to do for training next. Where it's just this constant constructive flow of what's going on. So we're only really like 30 days in,
Yeah.
and already getting good feel from frontline staff. I spent all of last, actually, we all did. We all went to different sites and roamed through them and spent, days at a time visiting with frontline staff, make sure they felt good about it, what they understood. Did they have questions? And, you know, just make sure they understand we're here to support the front line because they need support from above. And we've seen it both ways where they do get it and where they don't. And we don't ever want to be that roadblock.
That's one of the things I liked about you and Josh a lot is because you guys knew, the every single frontline member on a first name basis beyond your jurisdiction of your role, right? And
Mhm.
Josh, you guys have been doing that since I first met you. You guys knew everyone. And I think that's good for maybe you people looking to work for CNE, working for Cherokee Nation. You have executive leadership now with Josh and John that want your feedback, want open door
Mhm.
policy, want to be respected, but also want to be heard, and I
Mhm.
think that's viable for
Oh,
retention
yeah.
and attrition rates.
I actually had an employee say that kind of just more commenting to his peers
Yeah.
last week. He said that he just all he had was one thing to say whenever Josh and I were in the room last week, and he said that is one thing that he wanted to make sure everybody knew. We stopped and talked to him every time we met him in a hallway, at an entrance, something like that, and we weren't even in his department, but for years that has stuck in his head about having that interpersonal relationship. And I don't mean that to that detrimental point. We knew his name, know things about where he lives, what he likes to do. So there was this conversational thing that he felt more valued by us from a different department than he did at times his own leadership,
Mm.
different times that he's been there. So it is that thing about that full buy-in. And, to Joe's comments, and you mentioned about attrition and all that, it's a struggle everywhere in the day and time we're in. economic ups and downs, cost of groceries, cost of gas. And, there's got to be more than that basic wage that brings them back every day and
Well, you're
feeling valued, and
you
that you're invested in them, not just them investing their 40 hours a week or whatever it might be, but that they're feeling valued more than just come in and fill that gap of this headcount.
Well, I mean, and you heard Joe say in the intro video too, with talking about security as a shared responsibility. Everyone plays a part
Hmm.
in that. And so even someone that you just mentioned who doesn't fall underneath your jurisdiction,
Hmm.
and they feel open enough and they have that, that relationship now with you and Josh to say, look, if I see something wrong, then I know I have a pathway to communicate that to,
Oh,
but they don't feel like
precisely.
it's a burden.
Yeah. I mean, for years, there's always been this, especially in the gaming side, probably a little bit in the commercial, uh, of this complete separation of surveillance, and that they don't talk to their employees, they don't eat in the employee dining room, they don't walk out on the gaming floor, they work in their space, and they're kind of this unseen portion of it. But something I learned in physical security a long time ago was, if I had a relationship to where they knew who I was, they knew I took things they said to me seriously, that the very entry level frontline janitorial worker, dishwasher, cook, whatever it is, knew that if they talked to me, it was something I would check into. Even when I was a security supervisor working the gaming floor and in the parking lots and things, they knew that they could say something to me about it, and I would check into it, and I would put value into whatever that report was. I tried to instill that whenever I was running surveillance, because they had kind of been in that bubble, and that was kind of that stigma that has been around gaming surveillance of just, you're in that bubble, you've got to have that separation, and there is a worry about make sure you protect from collusion.
Right.
But again, how much can you really affect when you have redundant systems and you have other checks and balances in place, and it's not like you have a single person working in that room at a time. So I encourage surveillance personnel to go walk the gaming floor, to kind of get to see the behavior and mannerisms of people with from ground level, to get a little bit more feel of how the employees interact and how certain things are done. Go walk that floor, see for yourself what it looks like whenever they are cutting somebody off from alcohol service versus just watching it abstract from a 45-degree angle from a camera mounted at
Right.
29 feet in the air. Um, and really see kind of what all that noise is like and why the radio traffic is what it is, and those things. And some of them, it's a part of their daily, work life. They come in, check in, do their thing, get set up, get logged in, and when they're going to take a break, they go and walk across the gaming floor to do it. They don't just follow the back of house hallways. They get a feel for what's the feel on that floor today, who's out and about, some frequent flyers that you might have. May not be somebody who's into anything problematic, but it's people they see day in and day out passing their views. And it just gives them, I think, more insight to it. But again, to that other point was what they get now, and the buy-in investment from other employees that see them in the hallway, know they're a part of surveillance, and say, hey, I saw something odd yesterday. Just, I thought I needed to tell somebody, but I didn't know where it would go. But I know you work over there. So they'll tell them, knowing that's where they're from, versus that we're the invisible employee model.
And you know what that's called, John? It's called culture, and that doesn't cost a damn
Yeah.
dime to implement
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm.
So that's I
Oh,
love hearing that.
yeah. See something, say something. Programs are great, and they
Right,
have
right,
great value. But when you can get more interpersonal connection, and they know that this person sees value in it, it's not just going into the blank space of some messaging system to text in my worry, worry that I just came across.
right. I guess
So,
my question there, and maybe we talk about corporate versus tribal a lot, obviously, but I
mhm.
want to talk about just tribal in particular. Do you see more tribal entities like Cherokee establishing what you guys have done as far as putting security and surveillance underneath one umbrella, or like do you see a Choctaw doing this? Do you see a Chickasaw doing this? Do you see other tribal entities, or maybe just maybe the state of Oklahoma kind of following suit of Cherokee? I know Cherokee would love to be the trendsetter, but which half the time you guys are. But do you see that happening in tribal more often?
I don't see it very often.
Okay.
I don't. I will say there are a couple that, to my understanding, at least fall under the same leadership. But about their day in day out dynamic, I'm not sure. What that looks like. I mean, they may work really great together, but I don't see them on that day in day out to know.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at corporate casinos, obviously, with like Zach and his crew at Resorts World, but that surveillance is separate, and you got Matthew Forbes leading security over there at Resorts World. So
Mhm.
there's, I mean, obviously they communicate, but it's two
Right.
different. It's still two different departments, right?
Right.
Um,
And I know there was some regulation written at different times that really did specify that division. And in tribal gaming, there are a lot of surveillance departments that are run solely by their gaming commission.
yeah,
And we were kind of in that minority at the time of us running it from the company ownership side. Um, so, I mean, there's different ways. There's one that, to my last understanding here in the state, that they run it with, it is almost like a tribal department. It is not a part of the ownership, and both sides do reside under that.
gotcha.
But that was a few years ago when they were describing their models. I don't know exactly how it rides today, but I thought it was a great plan then. Because even then, you pull any collusion that, honestly, security and surveillance were a third party set aside from the C-level suite, making any hard decisions in the middle of something, and they were outside the gaming commission. They were over here as another department of the tribe. And I thought that looked like a really good model too. That's
Yeah.
not how ours is set up, but I think it's viable.
Yeah, well, I think it kind of points the purpose of find what works best for you and your environment.
Mhm.
Every casino is different. Every challenge is unique to that environment.
Mhm. I
But
do think they probably could fight funding problems if they are
right,
a governmental department versus funded by the operation.
right, right. So I guess obviously in your new position, John, I know there's talks. We won't have to talk about it too much, but there is talks about converting to a new VMS system. But also I guess what has been the main priority for the new job right now? Is it making those that monster change to a new VMS, or is it getting everyone on the same page? Is it obviously entertaining frontlines? And what's your main objective, I guess, for the rest
Big
of the year?
priority right now is making sure everybody sees the value, understands it, have any questions about the consolidation there.
Okay.
And it's just a good workflow, and we see that they're getting the support they need. That's the biggest priority. Um, yes, I have big projects like that on the books, and that is a very big priority for me. It will take.
Well, that's a big project with 10 casinos converting to a new VMS when your current employee base is used to an existing VMS for XY amount of years. You're going to a whole. I'm not saying it's a completely new system for you guys. You guys have been playing around with it, but that is a monster change in infrastructure.
Yeah.
For you guys.
Yeah. So it's going to be new for everybody, but I think it'll be good, and it'll help them consolidate things. I'm a big one pane of glass guy when it comes to end users. So, I don't want to get myself stuck into something, but as long as I stay on open platforms, I'm cool with it.
And there's always that conversation, open versus proprietary. We know where you stand there on the side of the line, which I agree with. Open is the way to go. We talk about, obviously, Richard Marcus is tuning in right now. You saw a couple comments come through from Richard Marcus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've said this before at his conferences. I love learning from people who used to take advantage of others personally, whether it's a black hat in cybersecurity, whether it's someone that used to rob people for a living, but now they're on the good side of the fence. Like, I love learning that kind of weaponization mentality, nefarious mentality, because a manufacturer can talk about the bells and whistles of a product, but if you learn from someone that was, exposing the casino by themselves without any product, just maybe just some tactics, techniques, Richard Marcus is the reason why he's been successful. So I guess I'm alluding to the point there, John, of what's as a challenge is it challenge for table games still with guys like Richard Marcus? Is that still a huge threat for you guys with cheat detection?
I don't think so these days. I mean, it is valid. It really is. Is it still? Absolutely, especially if people get complacent, and they aren't following policy. And that's, a lot of the weaknesses that they worked on was people who are complacent. Is it the tired guy? I mean, Richard's got a lot of stories about how they picked out, where they selected. And I think everybody's staying on their game. But again, it's the engaged employee. They see value in their job, not just there to make money. They see the importance of following those policies and making sure they don't step outside of it and being attentive. Um, I do think they're still valid issues to watch for, and especially in commercial because they have such heavy table games play.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in Oklahoma, our big thing is it's the slots. The slots is what drives business in the Oklahoma market. And you look over at the other facility that the company owns in Mississippi. That one, it's on the other side of that. They do have a lot of slot play, but table games is just booming business in that commercial market, and it's in every facility I've ever been in. You know, that's not a tribal organization. Table games may be good, but it's never been as good as slots. In my experience in tribal.
And table game challenges, obviously, we get the human errors obviously at fault with dealer payouts, dealer, irregular activity or player behavior when it comes to table games. Obviously, I think credit to Richard Market's success, technology wasn't as far advanced as it was in his heyday when he was ripping off casinos. But I would like to think that we've evolved, hopefully, the last 20 years with better technology, including the guys sponsoring the discussion today, EqualSight, with a solution that can help advance, the human error or help out with the human error. Because obviously dealer errors happen, obviously
They
more
do.
frequently with, the
They
corporate side of gaming. But
And
you
more of
guys
those
have
things that you can take out of there,
yeah.
and eliminate because you can only catch what you saw. And if you haven't had a reason to review that play because you were watching different tables or there was some type of medical incident going on, unless something drew that pit boss's or floor lead's attention to it, or the dealer caught an inkling that something happened, you don't know what you don't know. So I think tools like that have great value.
Yeah. You mentioned slots, and I want to hit on slots because obviously Oklahoma, it doesn't matter what casino you go to in Oklahoma, there's a lot of people that play slots, and so, and I think part of that too, man, maybe is because, and maybe I'm just being me right now, but obviously the demographic of people that walk into Oklahoma casinos is different than the demographic of people that walk into a corporate casino in Vegas. But I guess for the slot mentality, my question there, John, is obviously it's 1v1. I'm dealing with the machine. I'm not really talking or
Right.
interacting with anyone. So that's people that are, not vocal or outgoing. They probably love that element. But I guess how would I manipulate a slot machine? What am I doing to manipulate slots machines right now in your environment?
That one really takes some extremely deep knowledge. It's not as simple as most people used to think. They used to have all their other little gimmicks when it was all mechanical, but these are still randomized servers now. So there's so many levels deep to how that's got to go that it has to be very specific, almost a bug that has to be sought out. And there's a lot of information out there about those things that it's crazy what's happened over the years. It's a software fluke. And, how does it get out? You don't know, but you see it next thing on one of these websites. And there are a number of websites dedicated to sharing these things. And you'll find they've got their own little community. Hey, I tried this. This was the video that I saw on so and so. And it's usually where they found some new theme, new platform by one of the vendors, has an oddity, and they just try to take advantage of something that exists. It's not that they're doing anything real special, other than they know what happens next, or they think they have an insight to it. So that one's its own animal. It has to really be sought out differently. And honestly, I've spent more time on the technical support side that you get into. Josh has probably spent more time with the gaming folks to really dive into that one than I have.
I'm just viewing the lens from a nefarious actor. If I'm a nefarious actor that wants to rip off casinos, obviously if I spend my time in Oklahoma and I know the majority of the population plays slots, then I'm going to spend a lot of my time trying to manipulate slots versus go to Vegas and you get a lot of table game play. Then if I can manipulate the dealer or, become friends with the dealer, kind of like the philosophy that Richard Marcus used to use all the time with his tactics, then I'm going to use that to my leverage. But the
Mhm.
slot machine's difficult, man, because you're right. It's all software based driven, server based driven.
Mhm.
And so finding a glitch or a bug for you to, manipulate the payouts or the winnings, even the player cards, right? I know
Mhm.
there's stuff. I'm sure there's technology out there that can help, with that. But uh, if that contributes to a lot of your revenue at Cherokee, which I imagine it does, then
Mhm.
obviously having a solution in place will help mitigate that.
Mhm.
We have a question here. I'm highlighting comments in the chat if you can't tell, but this is our good question from Chadwick. What gets you excited about security, and what is one of your biggest barriers in the industry? I like that. Come on, John, be
Two
honest
sides
here,
to that.
transparent.
What gets me excited? I like to win. Okay, I like to win. I like to see us win, and when that, I kind of came from a little bit of that law enforcement mentality. I had some time in that before I came here. I want to see everything work out safe and sound, and I've always felt safety was a big thing for me. So even on the camera side, even supporting it from the tech side, if I can put better tools in their hands, uh, that I got excited about. What are we solving for them to make them better at their job, make it a safer environment? And it was the same side on the physical security part of that is how can we train our people better? How can we have a better presence? That full professional appearance, and you're not over this imposing bully looking like you're showing up, but you show up and they know you all are in charge and it's going to get handled. It'll be, taken care of fairly evenly. And even if it has to go into a scuffle, it's going to be done as safely and efficiently as possible. And just trying to provide that environment for the employees and the customers both, that it always got me excited. I even voluntarily do some security outside of here for like a church or stuff and help them with some of their practices. I've been doing that for a long time. And I just want to see a safe environment wherever I go. It's what I want for my
Amen.
kids when they were young. It's what I want for my grandkids now that I have 5 of them. Um, and I hope everybody has that same heart of it in what they do, is that I'm hoping the same guy out there for whatever that company may be. Is it the amusement park? Is it Walmart? Is it the mall? We have our own opinions about what we see when we walk in those places and go, oh my God, what did I just see? They really let this happen. And I'm like, this is the same place that my oldest daughter brings her 3 kids into regularly. I hope that they have the same heart that I do about it, that these things aren't going to happen in their house. Or if they are, it can be dealt with very quickly and provide a good, safe space for them.
Well, yeah, and I say this all the time. When Kate and I go out to dinner or we go shopping, I always look for an egress, like an exit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is common sense to you and I, people that actually care
Yeah.
about protecting our significant others. But you would hope that others would be conscious of an escape route or
Mm-hmm.
access to the first responders. Just being situational aware of that it's just a good basic principle everyone should adopt,
Yeah,
right?
I
So,
agree. And awareness is that. It's not fear.
right,
It's being aware and knowing I've got a plan out. I've got a
right.
plan for her out if I need to stay here because of whatever's going on. And I just see it the same way on both work and in home.
And biggest barrier in the industry, John? What's the biggest barrier right now? I would answer this in your previous just stupid leadership. That would be one of your biggest barriers. But now that you're in that position, I guess what is the biggest barrier now in the industry?
Honestly, I've always felt the biggest barrier in the industry, and this goes for both surveillance and security, is at times we get viewed as the black hole of money. We don't generate revenue,
Right.
and we do come with a big cost. The physical security force has a big manpower cost because it takes so many bodies in that payroll. Surveillance, it's on the tech side of what that cost is. But then again, without either one, the doors can't be open in gaming. So are we really a cost, or are we just a part of the utility function, just like the power, just like the water? And we are a part of the business. And that was always the biggest barrier in developing relationships with management at times. I had some guys that I didn't have a great relationship with years ago, when I was that guard on the floor. But as I got into supervision and they gained their trust in my judgment and how things were going to be handled, I could lighten that feel a little bit for them when they're approving a budget, at the beginning of the year. And they're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be fighting back about what they're asking for so much. He doesn't ask for shoot the moon here. He's asking for things that I can justify or needs. And I'm not out there running rogue, running some kind of thug squad around the property. We're out there trying to keep people safe. We're responding to medical incidents for people. We're jump starting cars, all those things. In the same way with surveillance, we're not out here trying to hang 8,000 cameras in this one property. We're talking about needs and then put it back to them. I can do these other views and it will cost this much money.
Right.
We're compliant with regulation with this. But if you look at accidents, if you look at crime prevention and awareness about certain things, or if we want to pull some statistical information for business intelligence, we could pull statistical information if we do these things and help go to the business.
It blows my
And
mind.
it kind of jumps out with, I just saw Michael Chapman's comment pop up there, and it goes exactly that deal about how we can monetize that and where do we show that gained value.
Well, you're right. Everyone thinks about security and surveillance as a non-revenue generating department, and no one gives a shit about security surveillance half the time until actually something happens, like someone gets robbed or someone gets stabbed or a violent incident breaks out. No one gives a damn. So it's always been that reactive mindset, typically.
Yeah.
But I would like to think now, John, we've moved past that, we've matured that, and other people in the business understand that. Number one. But it also speaks to the track record that you and Josh both have. Like, look, the decisions you guys have made from not just a technology standpoint, but a procedure standpoint, a culture standpoint, a mentality standpoint. In addition to the technology advancements you have made, it speaks to the reputation of your brand, how you personalize security surveillance, which has led to you to the position you guys are in now to take authority of those decisions moving forward. So I would like to say, obviously, experience comes with that. Maybe early on, you needed to be in that position for whatever reason. But I think it probably took longer than expected to be in this position, which I hope that looking at other casinos, that if you have someone like the caliber of a John Underwood or a Josh Anderson at your casino, like thrive that, cultivate around that. Because you're right, man. We always typically are an afterthought, and this is not to discredit table games, not to discredit marketing. I understand the revenue is right there with all those guys, but
and they've got their job to do, and that's their focus, right?
100%. And I want to point back to Michael Chapman, which we all know Michael Chapman. We love the guy to death up there, Delaware North. Thanks, Mike, for the question. But John, it would be great to hear what your thoughts are about AI, both in the hands of the surveillance team and nefarious actors.
I'm probably the odd one in this. I don't know. I still got to see the value. I trust people, and I do trust applications. I always want things vetted by people, so I do see value in it and being able to crunch through data, especially talk about the monster review. Hey, we're looking for the guy in the black shirt, red pants that was here on maybe Friday or Saturday, and we know he came in an entrance. And so you got 48 hours and about 82 cameras to go through, to be able to push that into AI. I think it is going to be a big help and lift some of that load off the back of surveillance. Am I still used to those rock stars that are in that room every day that you give them a bone like that and say, go find it, and be knocked out of the park with this 30 minutes later? Okay, I got your guy. Yeah. This was from 2 weeks ago. And they're like, yeah, I got it. And here they are sending me still images. Like, this is the one, right? They're always going to knock me out with that. So working so closely with them over the last 12, 13 years, I'm always going to value their input because of them knowing behavior and things like that. I think there's a place for AI to get there. To your notation about nefarious actors, Yeah, I think AI is going to be a bigger problem every day now.
Well,
And when you get into everything, we were worried about Google Glass when it first came out, but now and that's before this level of AI at everybody's fingertips. But now you've got everybody doing it. Ray-Ban's got their own version. Um, what that can do. The you used to not be able to use cell phones at the tables. Now everybody wants to be live and hot with their social media and what they're doing with it, and everyone wants to be an influencer and have their TikToks and whatnot that they're throwing out there. And certain points of that is great because it does help drive some business, builds energy around what's going on. But with all this stuff around and the use of AI, like I said, the thing that gets me is, now you don't even know where the camera is. Is it in the glasses? I mean, we thought Google Glass kind of hit a bust there for a while, right? And then now you've got 14 different versions of this coming out. Stuff you can find on your TikTok shop. You're not even buying the Ray-Ban version. And so we're just going to have to be more diligent, like I say, about the complacency and procedures. And, are we going to be able to put blockers in and shut down cell traffic? No, we're putting in more and more Wi-Fi to make people want to stay longer so they can stay connected with their friends and see what the feed says in between their spins or whatever. We're not going to be able to keep it out because it's going to worm deeper and deeper in. And then it's on that data security side with IT about what they can do on their part to stay ahead of it. And that is outside my realm, but I think we got a big chore when it comes to AI. And with AI, what they can do with cloning cards, IDs, things like that. I was in a training with some state gaming inspectors on the horse racing side last week, and they were talking about the use of digital IDs that are becoming legalized in so many states. Well, that makes it even harder to check between the digital ID that is something that's been faked by a good AI,
right.
where you can drop that in some AI engine for free, and you're duplicating this with a professional license to get in and out of some of these facilities. They will not accept that, and I'm glad that they're not, because I think we'll see more and more of that happen. You see this electronic ID, all you do is hold up the phone. Well, they didn't have to put it on the right stock to see the holograms in it. Does it have the proper seal on the back of that ID? You're just seeing this digital rendering.
Well, the weaponization of AI is common, and obviously people bring up deepfake technology a lot, being impersonation of maybe yourself or an executive, whether it's your audio, whether it's your face, your name, image, likeness, right, all that stuff. But for so long, John, there was never really a solution for a deepfake or an AI weaponization of AI, and so I found a company called Swear, which is a new company, but it's patented technology, and they actually authenticate pixel by pixel, frame by frame, metabyte by metabyte, all over blockchain technology, and it tells you whether or not this video, this audio, this message is actually legitimate or it's fake. And that it could be a split second where it's off, and it will tell you that, hey, this is not a legitimate recording. So I think technology now is finally there. I always promote Swear. I don't get endorsed by Swear, but I saw it because what concerns me the most, and I'm going to allude to Mike's question here, but what concerns me the most is obviously a father, your father, granddad, grandfather, of course, but schools with kids, what's happening is kids are being taken advantage of because they're getting impersonated by someone who's trying to be their parent or a relative to gain access to personal information, confidential information, or, God forbid, be sex trafficked. So that is happening, which is why I'm so passionate about that company Swear, because it can help authenticate all of that and eliminate that. But to Mike's point, I want to ask you this question. In education here in Texas, they've mandated to remove cell phones, so kids can't have phones inside classrooms. And so there's old controversy and pros and cons of that here in the state of Texas. But for casinos, do you see any kind of mandate happening around AI, to Mike's point, around, maybe you have to have some kind of face rec solution, or you're going to have some kind of LPR solution? Do you see a mandate of that caliber happening at all for the casino sector?
I think it's probably going to depend on the environment itself. It'll probably be case by case. Is it some special, maybe in a high limit room, things like that? They might start to restrict it. If you're going to be in here, because stakes are much higher, maybe we're going to pull something like that. But I don't know. There's so much that churns business now through the energy around social media and about trending, that to keep kind of there in the comments and there in all the recommendations, that seeing them keeping them out, I see there going to be less and less emphasis on that going forward.
I feel like there has to be a baseline because obviously with schools you have to do a
Mhm.
fire drill,
Yep.
and like you have to do a fire drill, I guess once a quarter or
Mhm.
something. But why don't you do an active shooter drill? Because active shooters are more common than a damn
Mhm.
building burning down. So I
Mhm.
feel like with casinos, like yeah,
Mhm.
you need cameras, you need locks, you
Yeah.
need surveillance.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't you need another line item there for AI or some kind
Yeah.
of computer vision? Like that should be like it's 2025. Like, well, why don't we make that a mandate? And
Yeah.
then obviously I make it a mandate, but also provide funding for that mandate, right? So
Right.
these casinos aren't scrapping and clawing for dollars
Mhm.
here.
Yeah. I see a lot of them trying to use, outside consulting groups to help do probe testing and things like that. But again, they're doing the normal probing, right? The hack side. I don't know how much social engineering penetrations they're trying and how that's going. I'm sure there's some groups that are actually capitalizing on that for sake of, you know, thinking down that road. To your point, that what are they doing and what tools are they doing to kind of get that social engineering side of how do they get in?
Right.
Because that is probably one of the biggest probes I think we see more than you hear of your data security team hollering that, hey, somebody tried to hack into this. It's the one who calls into the helpline and says, hey, I got locked out of my office or I'm locked out of my email. And, they're starting to work down that road. Those are the ones I see with more traction in them.
Well, I mean that MGM got hacked over a voice line, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
how they got hacked, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a ransomware attack, and they paid hundreds of millions of dollars to get that to go away. So that's why I keep pointing back to, hey, like there's technology now that can help with that and authenticate. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is not John Underwood's voice. This is a manipulation, and
Mm-hmm.
so Swear guys and girls, Swear SWER is the company, just so you guys can check them out. I always like to promote them. We got another question here, John, from our man
Okay.
Richard Marcus. Looks like it's going to cut off on the screen, so I'll read it here on the side. John, sounds like you're a guy who values your humans more than the machines. That said, if you had to make the big choice for the most important day with a casino operation incident, who are you depending on most for the best info and analysis, AI or the human force?
I'm going to the human. I'm going with people I trust and I have a relationship and I know that they make good calls from their experience and their work product. I'm going to go with what their call is. They're the one on the ground or they're the one in front of that computer reviewing that video. I'm going with a human every time.
I figured that was the answer, man. And not to
Mhm.
discredit, people talk about AI taking over. It's not. I don't think it's ever going to take over. But I think you've got such a great caliber team that is using
Mhm.
AI to their advantage, anyways.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, the judgment call relies on a person-to-person interaction.
Yeah. 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 I mean, systems can always fail. Systems can get glitchy. You know, I'm gonna side with the person on that one.
So we got about 10 minutes left here on the live session, John. So obviously I could ask you questions for another 3 hours, man, just because, even though I've known you for so long, I could still draw up questions, man. But I guess the question for me, man, obviously we hit on the deep fake stuff. People
Mhm.
talk about active shootings. People talk about new advancements with like EqualSight AI, which I think is a
Mhm.
great company with cheat
Mhm.
detection. Any other technology or solution that is a must need right now for casinos? Like anything that like really like come to mind? I wish we had a manufacturer create this or a vendor create this. What is anything on the mind that you're thinking of so
So,
far?
we've seen a lot of different things over the last, I'd say, especially since what happened in at Mandalay Bay. We've seen a lot of different things there with people about what they're doing for weapon scanning or visual identification of a weapon. But I think until we can see something that can scan on pace with normal foot traffic for weapons, and I'm mainly speaking towards firearms, knives will be its own thing. But when you're not having to stop and screen them at a magnetometer like your
Mm,
TSA, and we can keep pace, and it is married to video, where that is a tool in one that as soon as it gets a ping, it's already tracking well. And again, this does get into that AI side. Yes, I'm still going to want a human to validate this, but if you can see all your entrances and you know that there's a potential firearm there under layers of clothing. And I know there's many different tools that people are selling right now, but most of them work independently. So you're going to get a ping and it's going to go to a command center, or it's going to throw a light right down there by it. You're having to have an operator stand nearby and someone else who's receiving it up in a command center to now keep track. And then how are we going to interdict with this? Is this going to be, I try to just, hey, can I ask you to step over here with me? Or, are we going to watch the behavior and see what this scenario looks like? Because I think there's been some really interesting systems that they can identify a firearm once it's out. And to me, once it's out, they're committed. We're behind the curve. If I'm throwing alarms once it's out, I already got a big problem. But if I can ping on it while it's concealed without drawing a big crowd, without making a spectacle, then we can tactfully look for how we're going to deal with that. And that's going to be the one with everything that's going on in the world these days and all the trends that we've seen. And that's a big one that I would love to see done well.
I mean, yeah, to your point, I mean, just a couple weeks ago in New York, there was a guy carrying an AR and obviously, shot up a couple of people up there, horrible hit, but the weapon was brandished. It was visible underneath the security camera. Obviously, the security camera didn't have any kind of AI visible weapon detection. But to your point, concealed wise, obviously there's multiple concealed weapon detection solutions out there, Evolve, Extract, SIA, Garrett, metal detectors, right? But for casinos, man, like, I wouldn't say it's an eyesore, but to your point about creating that TSA mentality, do you ever see like putting a concealed weapon detection scanner at the front entrances of a casino, or no?
Unless we see an uptick that's going to force everyone's hand,
Yeah,
I think it's only going to depend on geography and demographic. And I say that more about trends in that area, that geographic area they're in. Yes,
well,
some
Oklahoma's a
areas
red.
I'd say.
Oklahoma's a red state. Texas is a red state. People are carrying weapons and guns, right? So, to your point, the demographic thing is important because obviously people that are pro-gun and right to bear arms, they see a weapon detection scanner. You're gonna have thing. Obviously, don't carry inside the casino, but you would have that thing popping off left and right.
And potentially, it may be a whole new world. I mean, of what we see. And then you're right. Oklahoma is a constitutional carry state. It is an open carry state at that. So, if we see it or it's identified or suspected, we address it. But, we may open a whole new can of worms if we get into that. But it is something that has to be addressed at some point. And with the evolution of technology, I've seen some things that showed some promise, at least in how they described what their goal was, but I never saw it get off the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, we did our own testing, working with a couple of companies with even trying to go thermals that could, tell you the difference of temperature at an exact point and to see how that worked. And I was hoping with that, that we'd see something. And it's just not been there yet. Like I say, Evolve, I do like their product. I mean, I like what I've seen. Have we used theirs? No. I mean, do we do regular screening for certain events and things? Yes. And got your CHE image, scanners out and all that. But that's what I hope to see progress in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There is a company that I came across of. I might have mentioned it to you before in the past. They're called Volt AI. It's an AI software. But the reason why I like that company is because in the event that someone does brandish a weapon and maybe they dispose of that weapon, they get rid of that weapon, the software will still track that individual throughout the property or environment, which I like. The only drawback there with a technology like that is you're limited to the camera, right? So if there's not a camera there, you can't really track the individual. But that tracking element is key, especially for someone that maybe gets rid of a knife or a weapon of harm, right? So you can still figure out who that person is. So that's a technology that I also like. But also, I'm it's the needless tasks of incident reports and being able to maybe automate that a little bit faster is always helpful too, instead of handwriting those. That's always helpful.
Oh yeah, because I mean, we still have a lot of people that even though they type away on their phone every day, sentence structure, paragraph format is not their forte. So
yeah. Another question here from Chapman. Thoughts from both about actual armed TAC teams and casinos, TAC teams. Vegas adopted them after the Mandalay shooting.
Well, I mean, we do run a heavily armed staff, and I say when I'm talking about heavily, the ratio of armed versus those that aren't. I have proposed similar in other roles in the past, just whether that's a ready portion of every shift, and they are, of course, in the same uniform as everyone else. But if something were to cook off, they are kind of those point people. I do know some of the groups in Vegas that would run the full out teams that are just on standby, and they're not down there walking the floor. They are just truly on standby. And I do think it's an interesting concept if you can justify it. I mean, if you know your normal stats about what law enforcement reaction time is, I mean, again, it's reaction. So at that point, what is it? Are you a Vegas where you've got Metro out there in and out of the facilities, in front of a lot of them, depending on what the energy's been like or what the history is, what's been going on in that area and trends have been? Or like us, you are a site of your own. There's no other casino around you for a certain number of miles, whether that's competitor or your own. And you're looking at a city municipality, responding to you when they've been out working a wreck nearby. They're not on site. So it'd be really interesting to get deeper into that. I think that has value. Now, again, what size of facility can they justify that extra staff?
Right.
It is going to be its own argument. And that'll be the argument with whether that's management or with the municipality about how they support, because just with law enforcement, and I've heard it from guys before and after being here, that some of them love coming out and responding because they like working with our staff and have grown relationships. There's law enforcement officers that I've known from working here down on the floor that we still talk regularly. But there's some guys that think that dealing with those guards and stuff, it's like I only go out there if I have to. And, how is that response going to end up? So there's value in that kind of TAC team or CERT team, whatever you want to call it, for these facilities, because you are at a certain point in the size, you are a city of your own.
Right.
You've got more people in house than the population of some of these towns that surround us. And, you need those options.
If there's one industry that I think needs armed individuals, is schools, man. SROs, I think, play a viable element for every single school. And I wish Oklahoma, and same with Texas and Florida, would make a mandate to say, hey, we have to have funding and bodies with SROs inside schools.
I agree. I've had some really strained conversations with the superintendent when my kids were still in school. And at the time, the city wasn't being very supportive either of them trying to get involved. If they didn't have a grant to help support it, they weren't wanting to fund it 100% in that small town in which we live in. And honestly, the current sheriff in that county, he finally just drew a line in the sand and he's like, okay, we're doing it. And he got the support out of the county commissioners to help him fund it. And any school that did not reside in a city limits that had their own SROs out there, the county sheriff's office is providing them. So, and that's even if it's in a city limits that has their own department, that sheriff's office is providing school resource officers.
I love it, man, because actually one of the things that I'm doing now at SVIP is we're taking a portion of our revenue and we're donating solutions or technology to understaffed and under-resourced environments. So, in fact, we're giving a whole new security equipment and cameras to a church in Florida next week on SVIP. So we bought the cameras. They're Hanwha cameras. I know they're Axis cameras, but they're Hanwha cameras, nice cameras. We're doing the cabling, we're doing the install, and this is just a donation to a church that severely needs new infrastructure. They don't have. I think they've had analog cameras for years. And so something like that, I think, is if you find more good individuals or companies or Samaritans that are worth that can donate SROs or can donate technology or can just do that on someone's behalf, I think goes a long way to making a better, and safer future.
Oh yeah. I mean, anything that's like that, you mentioned church, nonprofits of any kind, that are
Right.
serving their community, they're going to have people at some of their worst coming in their doors. You know, they have
100%.
needs of their own, they have emotional or psychological needs. If they're coming in there for some type of support, uh, you know, those things can happen. And to see them get some extra support in that to help protect them and keep an eye on their staff and the people who are, you know, attending there is great.
Yeah, and you never want a place of worship to be a cause of a shooting or an
No,
incident or a fight, right? I mean,
no,
should be a safe place, just like a church and a casino should be a safe
it
space.
should
You
be
know,
a sanctuary like the room's name is, you know, for
yeah,
them. And, you know, to be able to not think about those things.
right.
But, you know, that's where it is right now. But yeah, to see them actually be able to somebody invest in them or the ones that can invest in it is awesome. Um, you know, I've been in some for years at times that they just couldn't justify it with meeting the bills, you know,
Yeah,
of, you know, keeping the doors open.
yeah, yeah. So it's an honor for me to do that because obviously I care about the safety and security of others. So, and if I can help out a
Hmm.
business or a community or a school, church, you
Hmm.
know, it's just a little. It wasn't a big expense, but you know, new cameras go a long way. You know, just to
Yeah.
have more eyes on the ground. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
so.
Good for you.
Um,
I mean, that's really awesome.
Yeah, so everyone should go subscribe now to SVIP so I can continue continue
Hey, Doug.
donating to people. But John, my friend, we're at the top of the hour. You know, obviously, I always appreciate and respect you and what you've done just as a friend with me, but also with SVIP. It's always been appreciative to my family and I.
Thank you.
And I guess if more people want to get more involved with you, man, what's the best place to do that?
Best place to do that, of course, I'm on LinkedIn and all those fun things. But you know, feel free if you want to reach out through Taylor, and he's got all my info, email, phone numbers. I mean, I live with two phones on me all the time, so reach out, and I'm more than happy to talk through troubles, trends. Uh, you may be doing something that we haven't tried yet, or it actually fixes a problem for us, and I'm more than happy to hear what's working for everyone else.
Amen, man. Amen.
I know we don't have it all figured out, but we do. At least I think we learn from our from our mistakes.
You're very collaborative, you know, so
Mhm.
that's key. Well, John, again, thank you, my friend, for spending some time with me the last hour.
Thank you. I was
Really
glad to
appreciate
be
it.
here.
Well, guys and girls, this was our second part of our 3-part series this week. Tomorrow we have a live end user roundtable. We're gonna feature some other people from the casino sector. Joe Doe will be on SVIP Live tomorrow, but we also have some healthcare, some education, some logistics folks on the series here. So make sure to tune in tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central to check out that discussion. And if you're not connected yet with John Underwood, please connect with him on LinkedIn. He's a wealth of knowledge, of experience. He's very open and collaborative. If you're trying to sell him, make sure you bring your A game. John will call you out if you don't have a good product, or you can just come to me and I'll make sure it's actually a legitimate product. But again, shout out to our sponsors, EqualSide AI, and make sure you guys tune in tomorrow when we go live again at 3 o'clock. Stay safe,
Thank
guys.
you.